Mask or no mask? Does Susan wear a mask when she's doing the presentation?
I think she does most of it, and then towards the last hour, she gets up. I don't remember.
You let me know if you don't feel comfortable with me not wearing one.
Yeah, let me mute the microphone back.
Everybody hear me?
We can
How's
hear you.
everybody doing? How's everybody doing?
Doing all right. You guys?
Good.
Going well.
Great.
Rashad, you're not, I see the Sunnyvale meeting image, but you're not there.
Yeah, I got some help. If you see the gentleman over there in the corner, that's IT director. Decided to do it from the chambers this time. All right.
You have 3 people that have called in.
It's called in.
Yeah.
Attendees, okay.
If you, for a shortcut to mute or unmute, it's Alt A. Then you don't have to mouse over and try to find that. So
I think hitting the space bar twice does it too.
does it too? Okay. We have one group chat software at work that when you come on, it defaults you muted, and then Zoom, this one didn't, but Zoom at work, you come on not muted, so you got to remember.
Who is this now?
All right. Good. I don't have to host this meeting. Looks like we have.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
I hear you, Anthony.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's
Last time I used my PC, I didn't know that it didn't have video, so I was seeing you all, but so I couldn't say anything in the last meeting because I use my PC, which does not have video.
Got you.
it's 7:01. Is everyone ready to get started?
We can do that. Yes, sir.
Perfect. So I'd like to call it to order the meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission, Monday, May 18th, 7 p.m. It's a regular meeting. This is held by Zoom meeting. I have Commissioner Anthony Okafor present, Commissioner Don Klein, Commissioner Josh Sadler, applicant Terry Bedford, Commissioner Lisa Burton, applicant Akila Gandhi, Brenda McDowell in attendance, Commissioner James Goller, and Director Jackson. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the April 20th meeting. So if everyone had a chance to review the meetings, then we can go ahead and get a motion.
No one sees any corrections, which I don't. I make a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
Great, thank you. I have a motion.
Who seconded?
I have a motion by Mr. Klein, seconded by Mr. Okafor, I think. All in favor? It looks like it's unanimous. I'm having trouble seeing everyone's.
I voted in favor.
Can you find it?
Rashad, I'll consider this a unanimous vote on the minutes. If anyone has any issues, they can go ahead and send it to Rashad. So let's move on. Item number 1. Discuss, consider, and act upon the request by Terry Bedford to approve a minor plat for 3624 North Beltline Edition at or about 3624 North Beltline Road. Director Jackson.
Chairman Peace, Commission. The applicant has requested a minor plat for property located at 3624 North Beltline Road. The property owner sold the southeast portion of the unplatted lot to the budding property owner in order for them to be able to construct a parking lot. We kind of spoke about this about a month ago. This is the plat that's following up that process to make certain everything is valid and the boundaries are recorded accordingly. Staff recommends approval.
Great. I think Mr. Bedford's here.
Yes, Miss
Bedford.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bedford, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I mean, it should be a fairly simple thing. It's just that piece of property was never platted. It was just by meets and bounds. And so this is just cleaning it up for y'all at the city as far as it being a platted lot now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your attendance too.
I think you probably need to
You're
state your name and address for the record.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bedford. Can you state your name and address for the record?
There you go.
Terry Bedford, and my business address is 301 North Alamo Road, Rockwall, Texas, 75087.
Thank you, ma'am. Commission, any questions for Ms. Bedford? Seeing that there's no questions for you, Ms. Bedford, I'm going to go ahead and, even though this is a discussion item, I'm going to go ahead and see if there's anyone from the community that would like to speak on this item and go ahead and open up the public discussion. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this behalf?
Please press *9 to raise your hand.
Okay.
Or if you're in the web client, press the raise your hand button.
Right.
I don't see anyone that wants to raise their hand or.
We don't see anyone on the list, the current attendees.
Go ahead and close the public meeting. Commission, straightforward agenda item from Ms. Bedford. Any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
No, this is just taking care of that piece of property that is now part of Kearney's feedlot for parking, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I make a motion to approve.
Great. I have a motion, Mr. Klein.
I'll second.
I'll second it. Josh Sandler.
Great. I have a second, Mr. Sandler. I think that's Mr. Golder as well. All in favor? Great. Any opposed? Let's see. Let me go with any opposed idea. Seeing none opposed, I'll consider that unanimous. You got that, Rashad?
Yeah, motion Klein, second Sandler.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Bedford.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No worries. Item number 3, it's discuss, consider, and act upon a request by Todd Winters, PE, to approve or a preliminary plat of Homestead 3B addition south of Hearthstone Drive. Director Jackson.
Commission. In October 2015, the town of Sunnyvale approved a concept plan amendment for this proposed phase 3A and phase 3B. The specific phase that we're talking about today is phase 3B. The concept plan amendment removed alleys from the proposed layout, reduced the number of lots, increased the size of the lots. Staff has reviewed this application in accordance with that concept plan and with the ordinance regulations for the development, and have found that the application meets the standards for that development and that PD. Access will be provided to phase 3B from Hearthstone Drive via Jobson Road. The new lots will directly butt a new street called Longwood Drive. Per the Homestead Ordinance, the lots that abut the Mansfield Street alley shall not be allowed vehicular access to the alley, no driveway access. A note has been added to the plat noting this fact. Staff has not found any other details or concerns with regard to this application. Staff recommends approval.
Rashad, do you know if anyone's here to speak on part of this?
Yes, we have Christopher Jackson, the developer. He's an attendee. He has just raised his hand.
Okay.
I just allowed him to talk.
Sir, if you go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Jackson, you're free to talk.
He is unmuted, but his hand is raised.
He may be having some computer issues, may not have a microphone.
May need to call in. Let me try promoting him as a panelist.
Yeah. Just 1 second.
Well, while we're commissioners, while we're getting
Okay, it looks like he called in on another number. Let me unmute that as well.
okay.
You hear me?
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Christopher Jackson. Address 600 North Pearl, Suite 650, Dallas, Texas 75201. This is a continuation of the multiple phases we've done out there in the homestead. This is actually the last piece we own. It's been concept plan. This follows the concept plan, I think, exactly. We're excited about moving forward. These lots in the last phase were actually pre-graded out. All the offsites were brought to it. So really, once we get approvals from y'all, we're going to start construction for the next phase. So I'm here for any questions.
Great. Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions from Mr. Jackson?
I know right now that open field is, has kind of a retention pond or a retention pond in it now. And there was some issues with Mansfield, with the M Streets flooding, because that's high ground there and the water drains from there down into that pond on the horse, where the horse stables are. And I know they did a lot of work to fix that, and I believe it has been fixed very, very well. Now, is this going to, I assume that and I don't want to assume anything, the drainage and all will be down the streets, through the streets out to the east, so that it doesn't cause any hardship on the M streets?
That is correct, sir. This is Christopher Jackson again. The last phase, we basically bypassed all the M streets. When the M streets were built, there was a drainage issue that was not done correctly. So in this last phase, we did a massive, basically work around the whole homestead. So this drainage will actually go into the new system. So what the homestead received before now will be almost very, very little. And basically, we're bypassing the whole system. But we are going to keep their drainage system in place. It's just we built a whole new system around them.
Okay, and that map being shown right now has 1 foot contour intervals. If you go to the next map, the next one there, Rashad, the eastern part of there you go. Now, if you look at lot 38, I believe, it's hard to tell. See how that looks kind of like a bathtub there? The rings get tighter and tighter. As the contours get closer together, you get a steeper gradient. So right there is kind of the retention pond currently. It's where the runoff would go, and then it goes east and bypasses Mansfield. So once this is in, the drainage will go down the street through the sewage system through the street to the east, correct?
Yes, sir. So we left in place the old retention pond. So those are the only 2 or 3 lots we didn't grade.
Oh, okay.
Just for kind of extra protection. And so once we put the pipes in, those become lots, and really all this drains into the street and, type A drainage. So,
All right, okay.
we spend a huge amount of time on that. And of course, our engineers can answer a tremendous amount of questions. And we have gotten some feedback that the system does work. I've heard that anecdotally from a few homeowners. Because really, all the water, we bypass all the water. So.
Okay.
And I can answer any more questions on that.
Great, thank you. Any more questions?
I think they did a good job this time.
Yeah, it sounds like we haven't heard any complaints at all from anyone in the M streets or specifically in that area. Rashad, have you heard any complaints at all?
No, sir. Ever since this phase 3A went in and they went ahead and put in all the infrastructure for phase 3B to bypass and go into the glacier area, which eventually drains into the glacier pond, M streets have not had any complaints for flooding.
That's great. Okay, well, if there's no more questions for the other Mr. Jackson, I'm going to go ahead and open the public meeting for any comment or questions. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public meeting. Commissioners, as far as the agenda item, it seems pretty straightforward. I consider this, obviously Rashad has worked hard, and this is sort of a win for our city in terms of fixing a drainage issue. And I appreciate the other Mr. Jackson working on that.
Thank you.
If there's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move a motion to approve it.
Great. Mr. Okafor has a motion.
Second.
Ms. Burton, second. All in favor? Any opposed? Rashad, appears unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. we'll go ahead and move along.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Item number 4, consider and act upon request by Aquila Reddy. That's Triangle. Excuse me. Triangle Engineering LLC to approve plan for O'Reilly's at or about 401 South Collins. That's the intersection of South Collins and Whitfield Drive. Rashad, is anyone here to speak on this agenda item?
Yes, yes, there is. Ms.
I'm joining late. Can y'all hear me?
We can, sir.
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second here, because now that Mr. Moss has joined, I was trying to keep track of who can vote and who can't, noting the alternates. Ms. Burton just voted. So now I believe we have Mr. King, Commissioner Peace, Holder, Okafor, Klein. I'm trying to see who else is on.
I saw Mr. Childers on here. I assume he's still on.
Yeah, I'm still
Okay,
on.
so the only one I guess is Sarah Mitchell is not.
Ms. Mitchell is not on. I'm just trying to make certain that whatever
Sure.
voted on is truly voted on.
So with Miss Mitchell out, Miss Burton becomes the alternate.
Yes, Ms. Burton
Oh,
will
we're
be,
still, okay, so we're all still good. All right.
okay.
Right.
But just to answer your question, yes, Ms. Aquila Reddy is a panelist on this meeting. I'll just give a brief overview of the application.
Okay, thank you, Rashad.
Subject property is located at or about 401 South Collins Road at the intersection of South Collins and Wheatfield Drive. Applicant requests approval of a proposed site plan for the development of O'Reilly's Auto Parts store. The application is subject to South Collins Road design criteria, which calls for additional design for landscaping, and the exterior facade must be articulated and things of that, as such. Staff has worked with the applicant, and they've kind of gone above and beyond what would be typically required for an O'Reilly store. The initial request was somewhat of just a simple box, but they've come back with a mix of materials and articulation on the facade, which should look pretty nice considering what it will be. The applicant proposed to construct a 7,400 square foot building on the property, single story. Access will be from South Collins and Wheatfield. And I'll note that all the details have been addressed as far as the standards or the required standards for the development. As far as the signage, staff has made the applicant aware that the proposed sign that they submitted does not comply with the requirements for the area. Monument signs are required for this type of street, even though it's called a highway. We all know that it's not necessarily a highway. The power line signs are required are allowed only on close access highways. They're not necessarily asking for that as far as my knowledge, but I want to include it just in case they were going to ask for an exception. With that, staff recommends.
Mr. Jackson, I'm sorry, are you saying that they are not asking for the pylon as part of the application?
There was some confusion. I know it was submitted, and then their sign contractor contacted me directly and was asking questions of why it wasn't allowed. And we worked all the way up to this, close to this meeting, and I haven't heard whether or not they weren't going to submit for the sign, or were going to ask for exception, or if they were going to just go in accordance with our regulations. So just to make certain that they had the opportunity, I just put the sign in the application noting that it didn't meet the standards.
Okay, so is the pylon sign issued before us right now?
There's if you look in the memo, the packet, I believe I included on the last page the sign that was proposed.
Right.
That was what was submitted by the sign contractor, hired by the applicant. And I explained to them that it didn't meet the standards. In general business, a pylon sign is allowed only if it's along a close access highway, meaning if it was allowed along US Highway 80. But
They have not given you any indication that their application will resemble anything other than what they've submitted to the town.
no, now keep in mind, I think this could move forward if commission wants to say, the sign must adhere to the town standards, and you do not allow for the exception for a pylon sign. It must be a monument sign. The sign is going to happen after the fact anyway, the official application for the sign. This is just kind of preliminary to give you an idea of what they're wanting.
Great, thank you, Rashad. Miss Reddy, do you like to speak on this topic?
Want to unmute her first?
I don't see her.
Miss Reddy.
I see her.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Akhila Reddy. I'm with Triangle Engineering LLC. Address is 1704 West McDermott Drive, Allen, Texas. I'm the civil design engineer.
Any questions at all, Commission?
Ms. Reddy, this is Josh Sandler. Are you asking us to determine the application as it pertains to the pylon sign that's included in the application tonight?
At this time, we are not asking for any exceptions. We are actually working with the client to have that issue addressed for city comments.
Okay, so if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, is that we should look at the application that's submitted to the town as it has been submitted to the town, but with the exception of not the pylon sign, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions for Ms. Reddy from the Commission? Good, great. I'd like to go ahead and open a public meeting. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on this topic or has any questions or comments, now is your chance. Seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public meeting. Commission, it seems like the applicant wants to go ahead with the application as is, with the exception of the sign. And if someone was going to give a motion, please include the idea that the signage would be worked out in accordance with it. Rashad, this is being in accordance with the city sign zoning.
Yeah, the sign ordinance requirements.
Okay, sign ordinance. Gotcha. Perfect.
Specify that it has to meet the sign ordinance requirements.
Right, so just to clarify, we're any motion must indicate, at least to my understanding, that we're not making any sort of exceptions pursuant to the sign policy here tonight.
Yes, sir. We all don't have $1 million views like you, so we just kind of have to. Josh,
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I was making a little joke because I see outside your windows the Dallas skyline.
Can you see it? Oh, I didn't think it came through.
Yeah, just a small joke to lighten out,
Yeah, I used to have a view like that.
I thought it was just my face that was on the screen. Well, there's nobody downtown, so it's still very, very open.
Well, if anyone has any questions or comments, if not, I'll entertain a motion. This seems, I mean,
I have a question about the sidewalks. I noted in the sidewalks, it said there's no proposed sidewalk walk along Highway 352 because of the future construction. Is there a requirement that the sidewalk be put in once the Highway 352 is reconstructed? That's for Director Jackson, I suppose.
Yes.
As part of the plans for Highway 352, which are going to be underway, I believe before the end of the year, they have sidewalks that are going to run the complete length of our portion of Highway 352. So all the way to Mesquite. So with that in mind, the applicant was asking whether or not that would be necessary. We typically do require sidewalks, of course, for all non-residential development, but it just didn't make sense for them to put it in and then have it torn out for the construction of the roadway.
Okay, thank you. My concern was that we ultimately have a sidewalk there one way or the other.
Yes, yes, we verified that, and they verified that with TxDOT.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good point and a good comment. I mean, it seems like the other plan is otherwise goes above and beyond, like you said, Rashad. It's the facade looks great, and I think it looks certainly like fits in Sunnyvale.
Yes. Especially considering the current material restrictions that we have.
Yes, sir. Great. Any other comments, questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Triangle Engineering site plan for O'Reilly's at or about 401 South Collins Road, intersection of South Collins and Wheatland Drive, and condition that it has to meet the sign ordinance requirement.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I'll second that.
Great. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, Rashad, it seems like it's once again unanimous.
Who seconded that?
There's a motion by Mr. Moss, second by
So, Mr. Golder,
Golder? Okay.
Mr. Fuller. That was you, second, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, thanks.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Reddy.
Thanks, everyone.
So, Rashad, for item number 5, hold a public hearing to consider and act upon the request by Eric Bremen to approve ordinance 20-06, an ordinance amending the town UDO duly passed by the council on March 26, 2018, as amended from time to time, as so to add contractor shop and contractor storage yard land use classifications as allowed within the local retail zoning districts, specifically amending section 3.04.03 use charge. Rashad?
Chairman, Commission, as noted, the staff submitted a request to legal based on the Commission's recommendation from the last meeting held on April 20th. The legal staff recommended that we not approve the noted text amendment and suggested an interim use agreement instead. The interim use agreement was presented to Town Council at an executive session on May 11th. There were majority were in favor of the proposal, but I want to get into the details because of the executive session portion of it. But there's some drafting that's being done that will be presented, the final draft that will be presented to them on May 26th. With that said, again, legal did not believe that it was a recommended move as far as this being a text amendment to our local retail land use chart. But I will say that the applicant has wanted this to be tabled again. And I guess it's kind of left up to council, I mean, not council, P&Z, whether or not you feel as though that it's warranted to table it again to see if until this agreement is finalized or make another decision.
Okay. Rashad, before we hear from the applicant, is there, whether we table it or accept it or decline this, does it have any effect on the council and their separate agreement?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, overall, I think the only option is the interim use agreement at this point, based on legal's recommendation. I don't see how this request would be able to move forward either way.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
No, I made Mr. Bob aware of the application and this presentation today, but he hasn't joined. He didn't join the other one either.
Is Mayor Fopp speaking for the applicant?
Yes, he's a representative for Mr. Graham.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open commission, unless you have questions for Rashad. I'm going to go ahead and open the public meeting, and then we'll kind of touch base as a commission. So let me go ahead and open the public meeting. Is anyone from the public here to talk about this item?
We only have one attendee, but they have not raised their hand to speak.
Great. Hearing no from our attendee, we're hearing no raise of hand or seeing no raise of hand. I'm going to go ahead and close the public meeting. Commission, just so everyone's kind of, and Rashad, please correct me if I'm wrong, because Don was actually the chair of the first meeting, but essentially they came to the P&Z. We sort of tabled it to sort of get some legal advice. Last month we got legal advice that says we need to sort of go offline and sort of do some counsel's applicant side deal. And we would said we would table it to this month with the idea that with the final resolution here. Is that kind of everyone's understanding?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping to have more of a definitive answer prior to, and I think that was the idea, but that just didn't work out that way.
That's what I don't understand is the actual ordinance 2006. Is that ordinance 2006 the same ordinance that town the lawyers or the town legal department is suggesting that we not approve?
Yes. The ordinance 2006 is what staff drafted as a request from Eric Brown.
So Josh, the town lawyer mentioned last month that she didn't think we should go ahead and change the whole code for this one exception because it would open up essentially would open up the whole code for change. And the best way to do this is sort of an offline deal with the council separately. Is the best legal way to do this. It would be a separate deal struck with the council outside of the UDO. My lay understanding of such a deal.
Right. Hence ordinance 26.
Correct.
Which town legal is not supporting or standing behind, at least to my understanding.
I think Rashad just drafted that so that we would see what it would look like if we'd so approve something, right, Rashad?
Correct.
So it's essentially a mock-up of what we would approve, although no one recommends we should approve such ordinance.
And just to clarify, the ordinance and the wording thereof and passage of it is what's before us right now. I mean, I think I know the answer to that. I don't know how anything else could be before us, but I just want to get clarity for the record.
Exactly.
Ordinance 2006 is to add contractor shop and contractor storage yard land use as allowed within local retail, right? That's what 20-06 is proposed to do if approved, right? Okay.
Once again, Mr. Sandler is much more articulate than I am, but that's exactly what it is approval of this ordinance that would change our town code.
Correct.
Okay.
Which again, no one is recommending we do this. No one from legal is recommending we do this. It seems a little bit moot my only question to you as commissioners and to the city and to kind of put my city hat on here a little bit or a lot now is, once again, this is the third month in a row, I guess. We've tabled it. Although there's no attendees, and my thought is this, the P&Z can no longer offer any sort of, not that I don't value each and every one of you, but the P&Z can offer no more additional evidence or support of this. And my thought is we continue to table this is not going to help out anyone.
I'd add to that, particularly when any advocates for this particular application are not even here to advance, additional information or to say why we could table it or should table it.
Yeah.
I've got a question to ask Rashad. If we do nothing, in other words, we do not make a motion to do anything, will this die for lack of a motion?
That is my understanding, yes.
So,
But we have to make a motion, right? So we have to either accept it or deny it, right?
Yeah.
Or table it.
that was my question. That was my question. I have been on, not when I was on the Board of Adjustment, sometimes we just we would have no motion. It died right there. That was it.
Oh, okay, interesting.
That was my question to Rashad. Do we have to vote on it one way or the other?
Well, I thought you were meaning, there's a motion on the table and nobody moves to approve it. But I'm totally certain on nobody's saying anything on the.
Well, yeah. So Commissioner Moss is asking, what happens if nobody even advances a motion, yay or nay?
I'd be happy to advance a motion to deny this.
Okay. Well, let me get clarification on Mr. Moss's question, and then I'll entertain Mr. Golder's motion for denial. Rashad, do you know anything about not making a motion? It may be a moot point now since we have one. So.
No, I have, I believe, Ms. McDonald's colleague here that's attending the meeting, our town attorney. I'm not certain if he has any information he can possibly give on that.
Okay. Well, I don't want to complicate this unless we have to. So
Maybe it'd be best if we did go ahead and vote so we'd be on record. Yeah.
Well, legal's recommendation was not to agree, right?
Yeah.
He's unmuted.
Yeah. Yes. Good evening, everyone. This is Craig Smith. I work in the office of Brenda McDonald, and I've never come across or been a part of a situation where, as Commissioner Moss has suggested, that nothing has been said when an item is up for review and action. So I would have to look into that further, and I'm sorry I don't have that answer right now.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one has certainly been interesting in that I guess last time didn't Commissioner Sandler vote no vote, and yes, all in the same.
Commissioner Klein, I wish you would not have mentioned that or brought that up. It's a touchy issue.
Don, thank you for bringing that up.
I'm sorry, but that just touch points the issue with this.
But just to clarify, I voted yes and no and also abstained. So that was 3 in 1. That's the
Okay.
It's COVID doing that to us.
Hearing Mr. Golder's motion to deny, do I have a second?
Well, he needs to make an official motion.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
I'll make an official motion to deny this application.
And I guess, Rashad, is that official enough, or do you want him to read the whole item?
I don't think he needs to read the whole item, just deny the request.
Okay, great. So I have a motion to deny the request for item agenda number 5. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Mr. Moss. All in favor
Of denying?
of denying?
Aye.
Is it denied?
Deny.
Okay.
Any opposed? Rashad, I'm going to abstain from that little vote. So we have six, I think 6 in favor and 1 absent.
Okay.
Seeing that there's no more agenda items, and thank you everyone again for joining. I know it's difficult with the non-in-person meeting, and I hope everyone's doing well and their family's staying safe. Again, Rashad, as always, thank you very much.
And so,
If I could have,
since all items have been addressed in tonight's meeting, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Don, you read my mind. Do I have a second?
Second. Okay.
All in favor? Mr. Okafor, second. All in favor? Great.
Aye.
I'd like to adjourn the meeting for the this day, P&Z, at 7:41. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Just be safe.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Be safe.